Hello, good afternoon. When I was coming to present to you today, I was wondering what I should talk about, and I thought I would start with a story that most of us in Utah would understand, skiing, right? And in skiing, I want you to imagine with me that you have been an avid skier. Some of you may not have to imagine, you're probably already very good skiers. And I want you to imagine that you've been an avid skier for several years, and several years ago, you purchased this ski boot, your favorite. You can wear it all day at Snowbird, walk back to the car. It's very comfortable. But there's only a nuisance with this ski boot that once or twice a season, the buckle mechanism breaks, and you have to send it in. And the boot manufacturer is aware of this problem, so they turn it back around, fix it, and you have it before end of day Friday, so you don't miss a weekend in the slopes. Now, the boot manufacturer has assembled an R&D team to design the next generation boot. And one of the considerations that the manager is determining is if they should bring an operations resource as part of their new product development team. And that's what I'm really here to talk to you today, is how can we leverage operations experience when we're designing new product to optimize the design and also save money at the end of the product. So before we get in, my name is Chamas, and I've been an R&D engineer for 8 years in medical device design and manufacturing. And when I was an R&D engineer, I really didn't know what happened to the product after we got FDA clearance. You got PQ, got FDA clearance, and you went back to the next project. And I had an opportunity to spend 2 years in contract manufacturing where I really focused on process development, and process optimization. And the last 2 years, as our host stated, I worked for Stryker Neurovascular. And my responsibilities as an R&D program manager is to support base business to ensure that our operations team has all the products and components they need to meet our customer needs. Now, going back to my story, is how can our R&D manager here, adding an operations team member to her new product development team, optimize the design? First is voice of the customer. As R&D engineers, we're counterparts to our marketing team to come up with user inputs, user needs, and we translate that into design inputs. One of the things we do is we have multiple concepts. Let's say we have 3 concepts for this next generation boot. And in medical device, if it's let's say a stent, it's safety, right? Safety first, patient, quality. And one of the things that if we have an operations team member as part of our new product development is adding as part of our selections criteria and down selecting our concepts, also adding manufacturing criteria into it. So not only vetting the design for safety, why don't we also get resources within our new product development team so we can vet design for manufacturability, for efficiency? Having an operation team member as part of a new product development can bring in experience, and you want to have an operations team member who has really done the firefighting day in and day out in manufacturing, working with your suppliers to identify what are critical manufacturing inputs and utilize those as part of your design down selection. Not only do you end up having a product that meets your user needs, that's safe for your customers, but also is efficient. Now that we have our design, and operations team member has helped us understand what are key manufacturing attributes in our design, let's work with our manufacturers. So when we're doing product design, during design validation, we are building 100, right? Maybe 300, including aging parts in there. We don't scale up to the 10,000. Having a manufacturing resource can work with your suppliers to parallel path design validation and also optimizing your process. Understanding what are issues your supplier is going to have when you scale from 300 to 50,000 when you're in manufacturing. And ensuring that you have the controls in place during design and those initial commercialization to save you time downstream 5 to 3 years later doing continuous improvement. You can then leverage your operations team and capitalize on that time saved instead of supporting the line in doing additional optimization work in manufacturing. Another input that you can have with having operations as part of your design team is supporting understanding what do you really need to inspect, right? As an R&D engineer, I didn't spend a lot of time understanding, let's say we are bonding a component. 30 seconds was great, right? Because our pilot team are only building 100. No one is complaining how much time that's taking. But once you transfer that to scale up for manufacturing, those 30 seconds, and you need to yield 500 products out, that time adds up. Having an operations team as part of your new product design can really challenge the team. Do we need to bond it, right? Can that be a single component? Because those are things that those micro time ends up saving us time in the back end. Now, going back to that bonding, the other part is also scaling, understanding the variation in your process. Again, given my R&D experience, we didn't spend as much time focusing on the process side of things. And having an operations team member who has been on the floor, understanding the fluctuation of your process, ensuring that you hold your supplier to a certain capability during design. That's the advantage you get by parallel pathing really robust process with design validation, so that those initial lots, once you scale up to manufacturing, you're not seeing significant variation, so that that part that you're mating, which is supposed to take 30 seconds, ends up taking your production associate a minute to get that part to fit. Again, 100, an additional 30 seconds may not be a problem. But when you scale up to 10,000, 50,000, those additional 30 seconds, that time costs you money. And also probably would increase the rejects in that assembly step. Now that going back to our ski boot manufacturer, now that we've scaled up, we have our next generation boot, and we've leveraged the experience of a production associate being part of our new product development team, I think we can all agree that the next generation boot not only would meet the customer need, just like the first one that you have today that you like, but the chances of having rework, the chances of having that boot being sent back for rework may significantly be reduced or completely eliminated. And I think most of us in this room today have the responsibility or the influence to determine who is part of a new development team. And this can also be scaled. You don't have to have tangible product like we do in medical devices. It could be software. Really having someone who understands how does this product perform when it's in the field, or something similar as part of a new product development team. I hope next time you have the ability to do that, do challenge your team to bring someone who has done the firefighting on the floor as part of new product development team. Don't just have a 1-hour meeting with them and tell me your lessons learned. You won't capture as much as them being in the whiteboard with your R&D engineers designing the next generation. And I truly believe that if we take the time, that little additional time to spend more time, as much as we do in design validation, in the process side, through the maturity and the lifetime of that product, the organization would recognize a lot of savings and capitalize on that. Thank you for your attention.